Namaste. This is Yoga Therapy Podcast, and I'm your host, Shira Kahan, yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and Ayurvedic wellness educator. In these conversations with experts in the field of yoga therapy, you'll find out what it is and how it can help you and your loved ones to reclaim well-being. We'll touch on physical as well as mental health, physiology, emotions, women's health, spiritual well-being, goddesses, and self-development in the fullest sense. Listening to another's story can change ours, so thank you for showing up, and let's begin this journey together. Hello everyone. Today we're joined by Beth Gibbs. She is a yoga therapist, a teacher. She has a master's degree in yoga therapy, mind, body, health. Okay, and she's a writer and an amateur stand-up comedian, which I'm really curious about. Okay, welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, and call me Beth.
Beth, okay.
Yeah, the only person who called me Elizabeth was my mother when she was angry.
Oh, wow. Okay, I will never say it again.
All right.
Okay, so I was asking you how it was during this pandemic with the COVID, and you were telling me that you are free tired.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm free tired. So that wasn't too bad because I didn't have a job that I had to work at from home. And the biggest impact was that my yoga classes, most of them were canceled right out from underneath. And I think that's happened to a lot of people. I never really got into the whole doing classes on Zoom, because when I even started doing yoga in the in the late 1960s, that's when I started my yoga journey.
Whoa, yeah.
Yes. And I was practicing on my own and very concerned and nervous about going to classes because I figured I didn't know what I was doing and I'd be the only person of color and, that whole thing. And then when I did take my first class, I was like, oh my God, this is so different and incredible from working on my own. And so that I said, I don't care how I do, I'm going to classes. So I started going to classes, and then I took a Joseph LePage's training, and everything just kind of took off from there. So
the yoga therapy was very early for you because
very early.
Joseph LePage, it's therapeutic.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so I've been doing this type of work since 1995-ish.
Wow.
So when the pandemic hit and the classes were closed and the Zoom option came up, I wasn't interested because I knew how different it was to do it in isolation than in a group. So it took about 6 months because I live in New England, and in New England, we New Englanders, most of us tend to follow rules fairly well. So the state masked up, we did the social distancing. There were very few people who decided not to follow the CDC guidelines, and our governor was right on top of everything. So we've kind of rode the curve. And then about 6 months ago, a couple of the classes opened up again. They said, we're going to do masking. We're going to do social distancing. We have rooms big enough in our facilities, and we're just you're going to have smaller classes. So I said, that is not a problem. And I said, just not to disappoint students, because some of those students I've had since 1995.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. So I said, we'll split the class, and I have a friend who teaches, and I'm confident in what she will do with them and for them. So that's what we've done. We've split the classes, and all the students who want it can partake, and it's in person. And so far,
that's wonderful. But how is that working? So you're wearing masks while how is that?
It's a little awkward. We don't do a lot of deep, heavy breathing exercises. And I've always pretty much taught classes that were mixed levels, some people in chairs, some people on mats. So that wasn't, so having a gentle practice, which is something I've always done, that didn't have to change at all. If my practice had been more vinyasa and vigorous, I think that would have been much more difficult.
Okay, so just explain to our listeners how is this yoga that you work with different? Apart from that, it's slower. It's
well, generally the postures that I've chosen and have used since the early 19th, they haven't changed. Just how I present them may have changed a little bit, because I've gotten older, and many of those same students have gotten older as well. So we use, we do a few more things with chairs as a prop. For instance, I do sun salutation. I'll go through it once using the chair as a prop, not sitting in the chair, but using the chair as a prop. And then they can repeat that, or those who'd like to go a little further, then we do a sun salutation on the mat. So there's always something that everyone can do. So because I know my students, most of them fairly well by now, I know what they can and cannot do. So when I present something new, I've already got a couple of variations in my head that I share with them. So everybody is always participating, unless they say to themselves, for some reason, I'm going to do this tonight. And then my instructions are, if that happens, have a seat and breathe, focus on your breath. And so that's pretty much how I run my classes.
So actually you strip it right back, you give the first layer, and then you build on top each round. Yeah. So that it's very simple and easy, accessible.
Right. And then if folks want to go further, they can. They always have the option to go. And I'm always suggesting, if this does not feel comfortable, don't listen to what I'm saying. Listen to your body and modify for yourself, or I'll give you a variation that you can try. But it's always their decision, their choice. And we were taught by Joseph very early on that you can have all kinds of postures and practices in your head, and you can design the whole class the way you want it. But when you walk in that room, the first thing you have to do is see and feel who's in front of you. And then your job is to apply those tools to them where they are. So I've never had a beginner, intermediate, or advanced yoga class. I have a yoga class that goes through the 8 limbs every time, with ways that everyone can participate.
Wonderful. Sounds amazing. Yeah. Very effective too. Yeah.
Yeah. And plus it makes it accessible to people, that no one comes to class feeling like, well, I don't look good in spandex.
That's the whole point.
All I tell them is just don't wear jeans and take off your shoes. But if you've got a problem with your feet and you feel you have to keep your socks on, that's okay. But you're just going to have to be careful. Yeah. Yeah. So the yoga is applied to the students, not the students to the yoga. And when I began to tune into what's in the magazines, I would see these. Oh, this one freaked me out. There was an article, I think it was in Time or Newsweek magazine, and it was an article titled "Yoga for Migraine Headaches." And the picture they showed was the picture of a man balancing on one toe with his other leg behind his head. Like,
what the hell does that have to do with anything?
Exactly. It's not an athletic competition.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of education.
Yes,
what yoga is and how it.
But people will find their way. People find their way, and if that, if how I teach and the way I teach is not suitable for someone, then they don't come back to class, and that doesn't freak me out anymore. That's just like, okay, I will even help you find another style.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, I remember I used to spend so much time creating my classes, and then it would have a lot of knee bends or whatever, and then someone would come in with an injured knee, and you would just have to just drop that whole idea and start again.
Yeah. So it requires you to build your your spidey sense, your intuition,
Mm.
because people will say something and it's totally not real. Like I was doing a class on, I did my master's thesis on menopause.
Mm.
And when I decided to take the programs I had developed and see if I could do a sample class that I could include in the thesis to show that I could actually apply this. So I had a group of 7 or 8 women who said that they would be willing to be my guinea pigs. And I had them fill out an assessment, with stress level, medications, lifestyle, all that kind of stuff through the koshas, through at all 5 levels. Mostly I kept the language very simple because we found that in working with folks, they can answer the questions about the physical body. They would have no problem answering the questions about their breath and their energy. Then when you got to the mind and you started, then it was like, what you talking about? And forget answering questions about the witness. So I just condensed everything into plain, simple, little English, had them fill it out. They come to, I read everything, had an interview with them before they actually came to class. And then we would go through the program. And one night I was doing a guided relaxation, a little simple yoga nidra. And I had a visualization that had them feel themselves grounded to the floor and then stand up, look around the room, walk outside, feet in the grass, that kind of thing, before they would come back in, get in their body, and we would wake them up. And one woman after class said, please don't ever do that again. And I said, what happened? What happened? She said, I suffer from panic attacks and anxiety. I have a hard enough time staying in my body. So please don't take me out of my body. And I said, you didn't mention that on your assessment or in your interview. She said, I didn't think it was important.
Oof. Wow.
So that taught me a huge lesson. Unless I know somebody very, very well, if I'm doing a yoga nidra, I keep them, I stick with the first 2 layers, body and breath. And if I'm going to go up a little higher into mind, what I do is just simply say, find your happy place. Your where you feel 110% yourself. And then I deal with the 5 senses. What do you see, hear, smell, taste, touch? So I keep them in their body. If over time I get to know that they can comfortably deal with being outside of their body or go deeper into visualizations, then I will move that, but never until I know them very well, because I don't ever want to have that happen again. So then at the next class, I pointed out this fact to the students. I said, well, I'm not naming any names, but I had a situation where one of you last week had not indicated something on your assessment and in the interview that was very important in terms of how I would be able to prepare a program for you. 2 other people raised their hand and said, same experience.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. So that settled it totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that's just because we don't think that's important, or we're too ashamed about speaking about those kinds of experiences?
Yeah, I think it's both.
Okay.
I mean, and some people feel like somehow what they're experiencing is somehow all their fault. And so the shame comes in and they don't want to share that because it's my problem and I'll have to deal with it. But yeah, there are a lot of reasons. So even though I may have a class or a client and they fill out the assessment, I'm still extremely careful what I do until I really know them very, very well. Yeah.
And when you take clients in, do you do a thorough assessment? When
I was doing that, I'm not so, because I'm more of a group person, but I did have a span of time when I was seeking individual clients, and I've had a few. And yes, I do a very extensive, I have them fill out a very complete assessment. I always do a complete interview. And then when the session starts, I start by saying, okay, let's do a check-in. I know this about you, but how are you doing today? What's going on today? So that's 3 levels. Then I'm still very careful.
Yeah. A lot can come up for people.
Yes. Oh, here's another very interesting thing. Now, this happened in a training. I was down at the Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania on the East Coast in America. And I was taking a workshop with Sherry Friedrichsen.
She's wonderful. Yeah.
Good. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely wonderful. And we were doing something on the heart. And she put us into small groups, and she said, I would like each of you to come up with a sequence on working with heart energy. And of course, we were all, camel pose and back bend.
Something very extreme.
Yes. And some simple stuff too, but it was all opening. And when we presented ourselves, she said one thing. She said, don't you think it would be wise to, and I'm paraphrasing, don't you think it would be wise to consider protecting the heart before you open it? Boom, light bulb goes off. Oh my God. Such a simple thing to say, but so very, very true. You don't know what's going on with someone's heart. All of us probably have some kind of trauma, injury in our life that is affecting heart energy. So if I'm going to do any kind of heart opening sequence, I always start with child pose or a forward fold. And I encourage them to visualize some protective vehicle around their heart. It could be a time clock, or it could be a room or a curtain or something that's protecting. And they could always either dial down or open it up. They're in control. And then we move into some heart opening things. They're in control of their own hearts. So those two things have guided me very, very much, even with my classes.
Yeah, it's wonderful when teachers point out a fault. It's not so much a fault, but a lack or a
misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding, because that stays with you forever. It's such a strong, you're never going to forget that.
Not ever.
Yeah. And I also learned that first, having people find that safe resource within themselves, and from that we can practice, and we move back into that and come out and go a little deeper or a little further out, whatever it is, but always coming back to the safety point first.
Absolutely.
Knowing it's there, and then you can come back at any time.
Yeah, and even from my own experience being a student, the classes I have least liked are when the teacher comes over and without asking, puts their hands on me to make an adjustment on my body.
I can hear the resentment.
It's like, no, thank you very much. And if you asked, I would say no, because no, it's my space and I don't like it invaded. And I'm a fairly healthy person. I mean, I don't have any sexual trauma in my background, because that might be the first thing that someone would think of. But I am an introvert, and I do have trust issues and intimacy issues because I have 2 failed marriages. So we got to build some trust before I let you in that close to put your hands on my body. And once I even got injured because I was sitting in a half lotus, and a teacher came behind me, put their hands on my knees and pushed them down. Yeah. Strained ribs. Yeah. So, yeah. So I do not enjoy those types of classes. And fortunately, I found classes where I think that sensibility about personal privacy and asking permission before you adjust has really entered the conversation everywhere. Yeah, it's really great. That was a long time ago. Now, I have been doing this for a very long time. So I like. Yeah, I feel old too in that sense. I've been practicing for 31 years, but then I hear your story and I'm like, okay, I'm still young. Yeah, and I think we injure ourselves a lot as well when we have a lot of ego or pride. I know I've made my own injuries by sticking to a pose or trying to keep going. I had a sore knee and I just kept sitting in meditation, deep meditation positions, because I didn't want to let it go. Right.
And that's also injury. That's also violence to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That's why, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I feel so strongly in almost everything I write, even if it's fiction and humor, that component of self-awareness is so important to me, and that's why I think it's important to everyone, because when you see what you're doing. And then this next step is say, why am I doing this? And when you get the why that goes with the what, you can either make a conscious choice to change something, or you say, well, I'm going to push through anyway, as long as you're prepared to deal with the consequences. Or if you're in a situation where no change is possible, let's say you're dealing with a chronic illness that might even be terminal. There's the only change you can make is the change to find some acceptance and peace.
Yeah.
But it's still self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think self-awareness gives you the how. After the why, you understand how to change, how to make it better. How am I responsible for this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because I had that that word in my title. My original title was Enlighten Up, the 5 layers of self-awareness, finding clarity, contentment, and resilience in a complicated world. And the publisher, I went with a hybrid publisher, and she said, too many words. So she stripped out 5 layers of self-awareness. She said, your whole book is about that. You don't need to explain it. We'll put it on the back cover. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Tell us about your book then.
Okay. Well, I think the idea from the book came from my earliest yoga training, although I didn't recognize that I would eventually write a book. I just knew that the Pankamaya kosha model was a wonderful thing, because Joseph taught that way back before anybody else was teaching it. And I understood it intellectually. But after I came home from my 200-hour training, I was like, I don't have a clue how to teach this. I mean, I understand it in my head, but I think
embody it.
Yeah, when you can't really teach it until you feel it through your body. So it took me about 9 months of just thinking and going, because there even wasn't that much written about it in his manual, just that it was there and this is what it is and this is what we're working with. So it took 9 months of like stewing about it, and then I started to really begin to feel it. Then I could teach it, and I said, well, I would like to educate myself more about this model. And so I went online. There were no books.
No, there's nothing about it almost. And even
I went back to the original philosophy, the Upanishads. There are just a few verses, but no really deep explanation. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, I found Iyengar's book, Light on Life. Is it Light on Life?
There's many. They're all light on pranayama, light on life, light on yoga.
It might be Light on Life. Well, I'll have to find it.
I think it is that one, yeah.
But it's I think it was the last book he wrote before he passed. But it was steeped in, yoga philosophy and psychology and Sanskrit language, which I understood, fortunately, because I've been doing this for many years. So, but I said, regular folk, everyday folks are not going to be able to understand this. So I said, well, Beth, maybe you just have to write a book that's targeted to beginning yoga students, folks who've never stepped foot on a yoga mat. Maybe folks who are running training programs might find this a helpful way to present or at least amplify the traditional way of teaching about the koshas so that people can grasp it quicker.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process, the mental process I went through to get this book off of my computer and into the hands of a publisher. So it's divided obviously in 5 sections, and I discuss each of the koshas in a contemporary modern way, but also referring back to the Taittiriya Upanishad where it first appears, because I want to be sure to center this in its original context, even though I'm explaining it in a contemporary way.
Of course.
And then I follow that up with examples from my life and the life of some of my friends who were gracious enough to share their experiences. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a goal to work toward, like assertiveness, awareness, diligence, those kinds of values, and then specific practices that hopefully go along with each of those values.
Wonderful. I'm going to get your book. Because my book, I was also trying to find, I was trying to explain how emotions affect us and how they actually move through the koshas and connect the koshas.
Oh, yeah.
So I also needed to explain in the book, what are the koshas? And there's so little about them. So I'm really curious as to what you've written.
Oh, well, if you do and decide to use anything, your publisher is going to say you have to get permissions. I would be happy to sign a permission.
Yeah, authors stick together.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a big learning, because I was using, poetry verses and lyrics from great songs that just told the story in a capsulized version. And the publisher said, you don't have permission to use these. You have to go to the original author who holds the rights to these lyrics, to this poem, to this story. And and even your friends who said, yes, you can use my story, you need to have written, signed legal permission from them.
Wow.
Yes.
Because I've done that too. I've got lots of quotes from different people, and I'm scared that I'm going to be told the same thing.
Quotes can be, if quotes are, I think you can use small sections of quotes.
Okay, good.
As long as you cite the source, but your publisher will be able to tell you what they will accept. Some accept more than others.
Oh, okay.
That's a big job to go after all those permissions.
Yeah. Did you do it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Some people I did not hear back from.
Okay.
I was going to start each explanation of each kosha with the full verse from the Taittiriya Upanishad, and I was going to use Dr. Iswaran's translations. And I contacted the company out in California, the printer out in California, and I didn't hear anything. So I tried once more. I followed up, and I got somebody who returned my phone call. I explained to them why I wanted to do this, because rather than just refer in a sentence, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, I wanted to use the whole verse. And they said, well, yes, they thought that would be lovely.
Oh, wonderful.
And, well, that's what they said. But then I sent the permission form. A month went by, nothing. And then finally they said, yes, you can use it, and you must state it this way. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, it's already gone to print. It's too late. I waited as long as I could.
Yeah. Oh, well done. Just stand your ground.
Yeah. So I know. So sometimes you find that you have to change what you've written because of the legal ramifications of what you have to go through to get a book out. But I said, fine, I'm flexible. So I will change this. Absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
This again is letting go of the fruits of your actions and just taking the actions.
Exactly. I mean, I went with a hybrid. Oh, this is what happened. I think I mentioned that I tried to find an agent, which didn't work, a traditional publisher, which I thought wasn't going to work. And then I met a representative of a hybrid publisher who came to a writing group I belong to. And their company lives in the same state that I do, which I like, because the thought of trying to do business with somebody who's half a continent away, whom I can never feel their energy, this appealed to me. I liked her presentation. I liked what she said. She was absolutely knowledgeable. So I belong to an international independent authors group called Ally, ALLI.org. You check them out, or I'll send you the link. Yeah. They're great. And they have once you become a member, you have access to their directory that they have vetted of people who help independent authors get the book out. So I checked this particular firm through them. I didn't see them, so I emailed the head of the resource, and I said, "Have you heard anything about this company?" He wrote back within 24 hours and said, "They're not in our directory, as you discovered. I went online. I did a quick vet. I checked out their website. I checked out their references." He said, "They're reputable."
Oh.
I said, "Thank you." And at the same time, I was just getting ready to sign the contract with them when I got a hit from Llewellyn Worldwide. And they said, "We want to know if your proposal is still available." And I thought to myself, now I have waited 5 months.
Oh, that long.
5 months since I sent that proposal in.
Wow.
I have somebody who's ready to go. And then I knew the difference between how a traditional publisher works and how a hybrid works. And I said, for my first time out, I want control over what the cover's going to look like. I want to have the final say about the edits, which ones I'll accede to and which ones I'm going to hold firm on. I can't, it's like birthing a baby.
I was just going to say
adoption. I wanted to graduate from college. So
when I had a baby, and having a book or creating a book is the same thing. When I birthed my child, after and walking around with her those first months, I looked at every mother so differently. It's like, wow, what we go through to birth a child is just amazing.
Yes.
With so much love. And it's the same with the book.
Yes.
I look at my books now and my cupboards with books and I go, wow, there's so much love and energy in all those books.
That's right. And I think that's probably why so many of us, even though we buy books for our tablets and so, there's something about at least holding our generation, holding that book.
I love it. I love to have cupboard full of books.
Yeah. Well, I live in a smallish condo. I think I mentioned I lived in a renovated factory. And so my space is small. I had to downsize from a 2,800 square foot home to an 1,100 square foot condo.
Wow.
So most of my valued best books are right behind me. And I have a few others scattered around in piles, either read or waiting to be read or using for reference. But yeah. I like to have the book.
Yeah, it's important.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Beth. This has been a wonderful chat. Is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with? Anything you'd like to share? How yoga therapy can help them, or a practice, or apart from your book?
So my book is on my website, or you can go straight to Amazon. But I would suggest that folks go to my website first and kind of read about, because there's a the publisher did a 30-second video trailer.
Yeah, I saw it. Beautiful.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. And there's more information. So my website is simply bethgibbs.com. And they can check it out. And then, of course, Amazon is the quickest way to get anything these days. So, yeah, they order from the publisher because it's POD and it takes a few weeks. So whatever. And then I have a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon, suggested a way to do a socially distanced autograph.
Oh,
she said, book plates. So I went on Amazon and I bought these beautiful butterfly book plates. And so if someone buys the book and wants an autographed book plate, they send me their address and I sign a book plate and I send it off.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay.
So it's a good way to personalize something when we can't be in person these days.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you'd like me to do a short practice,
I would love that.
Short practice to the koshas. Okay. So we're going to come to a comfortable seated position. We're going to either keep our eyes closed, or if we choose to open them, we just gaze at the ground. Soften the gaze. Take a deep breath in. Let that breath out. And first, we're going to take a quick little trip through the body. Our first layer, physical body, sensing our connection to the surfaces that our body touches or that touch us. Noticing where our feet land. legs, knees, thighs, and hips. Just sensing any sensations, the connections, or the internal sensations of the body as we move through belly and low back, rib cage, mid back, chest, upper back, shoulders, neck, head, face, softening the eyes, the forehead, the jaw, the mouth, the chin. Letting that softening continue as we move our awareness out over the shoulders and begin to explore the arms. Upper arms, elbows, lower arms, hands, and fingers. Just noticing the whole physical body, the whole physical body, in whatever position it's in, the whole physical body. And then moving to the second layer, breath, energy. Just allow your awareness to focus on your essential breath, following each inhalation, each exhalation. Just noticing all 4 parts of the breath. The inhalation, noticing the slight pause before you exhale. The exhalation, and the slight pause before you inhale. Just following the ins and outs of your natural, essential breathing process. And then checking in on your energy state in this moment. And just noting for yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. With 1 being, I'm ready to turn over and go to sleep, to 10 being, where's the party? Place yourself on your own personal energy scale. No judgment, just notice. And then bringing the awareness, shifting once more to our third layer, the mind. Notice the process of the mind and the mind space. Notice what's there. Notice the content of the thoughts. Are they of the past, a memory? Are they projecting into the future, what comes next today? Are they trying to solve a problem? Are they analyzing a situation? Are they quiet and sitting in the present? Just notice. And then notice that part of you that has been able to watch, notice the mind, to sense the breath and the energy, to notice the sensations in the physical body, that part of you, the witness. And then over the next 2 to 5 breaths, just sit in your own sweet silence and sense and feel, release, relax, and let go. And then very slowly bringing awareness back to the breath, allowing the breath to connect all of our layers, body, breath, mind, witness, and bliss. Begin moving your fingers and your toes, and then gently tune into your own body and ask your body, how does the body wish to stretch in this moment? Just find whatever stretch or move that your body is asking for. Take time to do it. And then as you gently and slowly bring that stretch to a close, find your comfortable position. And we'll end with Hakini Mudra, fingertips together, thumbs together, space between the hands. And just as though you're holding an orange, and then relax the forearms in the lap. This is a mudra which is said to bring balance and integration to the body. So we just sit, sense, and feel balance and integration moving through the body, through all 5 interconnected layers. We separate them to talk about them, but they are not separate. They are a one whole. So let's sense and feel the balance and integration of that whole for a few seconds more. And then gently and slowly pressing the palms together and bringing the hands to Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. We take a nice deep breath in and lift the heart. And as we exhale, the eyes open and we wish each other namaste.
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 Lovely. Very, very clear. And I love the orange. It felt so juicy in my hands. It was like, wow.
I had one for breakfast, so that's what's on my mind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll leave your name and your website in the show notes for people and your book. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And when this is up, please send me the link and I will share it online.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Hey, really great getting to know you.
Same here, Shira. And I look forward to your success with your book.
Yes, it'll come.
If I can be of help in any way, don't be afraid to reach out, because I enjoy helping fellow writers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will too. Knowing the process, I'm behind everyone.
Okay. All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.